Good morning. This is April 1st of 2021. And let's see if you can see the rest of this. No, I'm messing it up going the wrong way. There we go. What if April Fool's Day was an April Fool's joke? Well, we used to say it's 10 o'clock in the evening. Do you know where your children are? Now I can say it's 10 o'clock in the morning. Do I know where my students are? The answer is no, I don't know where they are. I hope they're doing something. I hope you guys are doing something. That is productive. This is Holy Week. So my prejudice would be that you're doing something connecting you with your religious beliefs and strengthening and supporting yourself in your family life or with your loved ones, any way you define loved ones. But we'll finish up chapter 10, which is on emerging adulthood, which is your age group that most of you, if not all of you, are in. A couple things I want to draw your attention to. I did add a video on which is an interview of a transgender U.S. Army soldier who was stationed at Fort Bliss. I interviewed for my TV program. And those of you who might be interested in one person's view of their traveling pathways, journey, I guess maybe would be a better word, their journey of discovering that in fact they are a transgender person. And this Sergeant Jones figured this thing out when he was a he, and now Sergeant Jones is a she. But the point is, he didn't figure it out until he was in his early 30s. I think he said 31 or 32, I can't remember exactly, which is pretty amazing because as you listen to her story, you will see that there was a lot of churning and trouble and turmoil throughout her life that got her to the position where she is now. So I just put that on because I thought that would be a high interest for you who are interested in such issues. I did find it very, very interesting to have a chance to interview her. The last thing we talked about on Tuesday was this Freudian quote about loving and having a great job. What does he say here? The ability to love and work is his definition of mental health. I did talk a little bit about the concept of flow and positive psychology. So because of that, I put on a video of Martin Seligman, and I have him queued up to listen for you to watch. There's several Seligman videos on YouTube I tried to get one that was a little shorter so we could watch it in its entirety. Since I don't have a live student on here, I think I'll just play a little introduction to the video because it'll show you about Martin Sigelman. I mentioned him on Tuesday. He used to be the president of the American Psychological Association. And basically, he brought together this concept of psychologists working on people who are healthy and moving them down or up the spectrum, along the spectrum, maybe would be a better word, along the spectrum of taking a happy, well-adjusted person and moving them even further into happiness and self-discovery and empowerment and flow and um, all these terms that came out of this positive concept, positive psychology concept. And I'll remind you, if you get a chance to take a positive psychology class as an elective, do it. It would be very, very fulfilling to you. I mentioned the uh, PhD student at Harvard that was teaching that as a teaching assistant and became one of the most popular classes to be taken there. So it is a very, very interesting subject since we're all of us are on a little bit of a roller coaster as far as our mental health. Some days we're happier and more secure and stable than others. So it's a ebb and flow kind of a relationship. Um, Even sometimes people seek out treatment because they're blocked. There's no flow going on, and that is not a bad thing. Unfortunately, we talk about mental health. Most people think, oh, the crazies. And well, let me just play Singleman here for a couple of moments for your enjoyment.
Association. They tried to meet and train me, and an encounter I had with CNN summarizes what I'm going to be talking about today, which is the 11th reason to be optimistic. The editor of Discover told us 10 of them. I'm going to give you the 11th. So they came to me, CNN, and they said, Professor Seligman, would you tell us about the state of psychology today? We'd like to interview you about that. And I said, great. He said, but this is CNN, so you only get a soundbite. So, well, how many words do I get? I said, well, one. The cameras rolled, and she said, Professor Seligman, what is the state of psychology today? Good. Cut. That won't do. We'd really better give you a longer soundbite. Well, how many words do I get this time? Well, you get 2. Dr. Seligman, what is the state of psychology today? Not good. Look, Dr. Seligman, we can see you're really not comfortable in this medium. We'd better give you a real soundbite. This time you can have 3 words. Professor Seligman, what is the state of psychology today? Not good enough. And that's what I'm going to be talking about. I want to say why psychology was good, why it was not good, and how it may become in the next 10 years good enough. And by parallel summary, I want to say the same thing about technology, about entertainment and design, because I think the issues are very similar. So why was psychology good? Well, for more than 60 years, psychology worked within the disease model. 10 years ago, when I was on an airplane, I introduced myself to my seatmate and told them what I did. They'd move away from me. And because quite rightly, they were saying psychology is about finding what's wrong with you, spot the loony. And now when I tell people what I do, they move toward me. And what was good about psychology, about the $30 billion investment NIMH made, about working in the disease model, about what you mean by psychology, is that 60 years ago, none of the disorders were treatable. It was entirely smoke and mirrors. And now 14 of the disorders are treatable, 2 of them actually curable. And the other thing that happened is that a science developed, a science of mental illness, that we found out that we could take fuzzy concepts like depression, alcoholism, and measure them with rigor, that we could create a classification of the mental illnesses, that we could understand the causality of the mental illnesses. We could look across time at the same people, for example, who are genetically vulnerable to schizophrenia, and ask what the contribution of mothering, of genetics are. And we could isolate third variables by doing experiments on the mental illnesses. And best of all, we were able in the last 50 years to invent drug treatments and psychological treatments. And then we were able to test them rigorously in random assignment, placebo-controlled designs, throw out the things that didn't work, keep the things that actively did. And the conclusion of that is that psychology and psychiatry of the last 60 years can actually claim that we can make miserable people less miserable. And I think that's terrific. I'm proud of it. But what was not good, the consequences of that, were 3 things. The first was moral, that psychologists and psychiatrists became victimologists, pathologizers, that our view of human nature was that if you were in trouble, bricks fell on you. And we forgot that people made choices and decisions. We forgot responsibility. That was the first cost. The second cost was that we forgot about you people. We forgot about improving normal lives. We forgot about a mission to make relatively untroubled people happier, more fulfilled, more productive. And genius, high talent, became a dirty word. No one works on that. And the third problem about the disease model is in our rush to do something about people in trouble, in our rush to do something about repairing damage, it never occurred to us to develop interventions to make people happier, positive interventions. So that was not good. And so that's what led people like Nancy Edkoff, Dan Gilbert, Mike Csikszentmihalyi, and myself to work in something I call positive psychology, which has 3 aims. The first is that psychology should be just as concerned with human strength as it is with weakness. It should be just as concerned with building strength as with repairing damage. It should be interested in the best things in life, and it should be just as concerned with making the lives of normal people fulfilling and with genius, with nurturing high talent. So in the last 10 years and the hope for the future, we've seen the beginnings of a science of positive psychology, a science of what makes life worth living.
Okay, well, I hope that gives you a little insight into Martin Seligman's concept of positive psychology and how we really did ignore mentally healthy folks and genius folks and inspiring folks. We talked a little bit about it during the humanistic years and humanistic psychology, but we really didn't study it, and we didn't take people who were mentally healthy and provide them a service or a treatment, because treatment, of course, is a disease model, and in order for you to get treatment, you must have a disease. So you can see how the traditional medical model and disease model of mental illness, which is important. I mean, we don't want to, like Seligman says, we want to help people who are in misery and make them less miserable. There's nothing dishonorable about that. It's a very honorable profession, which is why most of us who practice as a psychologist actually went into the business so that we could help others. So positive psychology is just an exciting concept. And I certainly encourage you to, this video is about 23 minutes long, so that's not a big commitment of your time. There are other ones that are of him speaking that are much longer, much more detailed, but they're still very exciting. He's a good speaker. Obviously, he's a talented guy, and I think you would enjoy watching a video by him, or maybe doing some research on your own on positive psychology for your own sake, not for the test later. Matter of fact, speaking of the test, I think I'll release the test later today. Obviously, I know this is Holy Week, and you may have other religious activities planned that might interrupt your normal scheme of studying for an exam and taking it. So I'll release the test later today. I haven't even designed it yet, but I'll do it. It'll be up sometime in the afternoon. So just a message for any of you who happen to be listening to this on tape. The test will be available. Maybe I'll send out an email as well for those who won't be listening to this video until today is over, so it won't help you any as far as getting a jump on taking the test. But my guess is most of you don't want to take the test anytime early anyway, based on the way you guys sort of wait till Sunday to take the test anyway. But anyway, that'll be an attempt on my part to relieve a little pressure from studying and getting in touch with your family or your religious beliefs. So, all right, do well. Have a great weekend. Again, shoot me an email if you have questions about any potential test questions. I think this should be one of your easiest chapters, and it should have been one of your more interesting chapters, since it has to do with your life stage that you're in right now. So take care. If you're Christian, happy Easter. Otherwise, you can have a happy religious time to get in touch with your religion, even though it's not Christianity. So take care. See you on Tuesday of next week. Talk to me about tests that you need to make up.